Hey, good morning, good people. Time for another combat commentary, and let's start by, saying a good special peace to the ancestors on many levels for several reasons. This month is a special month. One, special shout out to one of the best advocates of self defense out there, the Honorable Brother Malcolm X. He would have been his 95th birthday, May 19th. So there's that. But we're gathered here today to basically discuss me. In the sense that, let me ask you guys something. Have you ever done anything consistently for 12, or not 12, 10 years straight? 10 years straight. Yes, that's what we're here for. 10 years I have been on the grand ultimate journey, i.e., been learning Tai Chi Chuan for 10 years this month. And ironically, this month in the Chinese zodiac is the month of the dragon. Crazy how that works, right? So, with that said, I believe it would be a good idea to start off with my origin story in these arts. So, for those who don't know, I guess you could say my journey really started with Master Li. That's where I kind of discovered what Tai Chi even was. But I didn't learn it under him, actually. I learned it under Sifu Justin Meehan and Sifu Herb Perrin. And this started out basically, I was at work one day, working downtown at the courthouse, and, Sifu Justin is a lawyer in St. Louis, right? So he was coming in, and he had an assistant with him, and she was Chinese, right? And so me being, Mr. Friendly, Mr. Charismatic, I'm very extroverted. I say hello to him, and then she walks in, and I'm all like, hey, ni hao ma, and she's, of course. You say that to a Chinese woman. She's like, "Oh, okay. Where did you learn that?" And then Sifu Justin does double take. He's like, "What? How do you know? Wait, you're not supposed to know that." I'm in my sheriff's uniform or whatever. And he's all like, "Okay, where did you learn that?" I'm like, "I learned it from my Sifu." And I was like, "Oh, really? Who's your Sifu?" And he's like, "I'm Grandmaster Johnny Lee." "Oh, you studied under him? Okay, well, let me introduce myself." And he's like, "Well, I'm a Tai Chi teacher myself." And so I started out under him, and a lot of that is crazy history. We've been having adventures on and off for the last 10 years, and I've studied under his student, Sifu Herb Perrin, for the longest. And so, we were, we've had many other adventures. In particular, there was China, where, it's a strange thing. It's kind of like, to bring up Malcolm X, like when he went to Mecca, it's like seeing other people besides yourself that don't look like you, but doing what you do. Going to Beijing, seeing the Great Wall, seeing the late great Grandmaster Feng Zichang, R.I.P. And going there and competing and learning new things. And with that can be said, I gotta say this: if you're gonna be in the art, you're gonna have to stick with it if you want to get anything out of it. And I have gotten a lot of things, and this is the power of persistence. you might not be the best starting off. In fact, I was definitely not the best. I came from an external art. I was very rigid, it's flexible, but I still, let's rely on speed, agility, brute force. And so it took a lot of persistence. It took I've been up long hours of the night. I would find myself at random intervals doing silk reeling, small catch and hit, single arm circle, standing meditation, hours upon hours upon hours until hours became days, days became months, months literally became years, years have now become at least a decade. This is the power. When you stick to it, you grow, right? So, and with that said, along my growth and along my journey, I've met some great people. And to that I say, iron sharpens iron, right? So shout out to folks, not just my seafoods, but those around me, like Mr. Marvin Robinson, champion at push hands. Like, I learned a lot from him about structure, and in my mind, it's kind of like, oh, okay, let's get there. Let's get on his level, right? And then there's the homie Samuel George Catanzaro III, aka Mr. St. Louis Underground, aka Caesar himself. With him, I learned more well, he doesn't do Tai Chi, but at the same time, I learned more of the boxing principles to deal with, non Tai Chi people, right? And then there's my man, Devin Blue Chip, aka It Man, Donnie Yen Bryant. With him, I got to refine more or less fighting in the clinch. You've seen him on the videos doing Wing Chun. I can't wait to do more videos with him, because he's kind of like the perfect foil to me. When we fought, in fact, we fought yesterday, and during the fight, we kept redirecting and rolling each other's arms and trying to unbalance and strike each other, and it was great. So with that said, I've met so many great people, too many to name, but those guys in particular, give a shout out to them. And moving on to, the perks. What perks and powers and abilities did I get from learning Tai Chi Chuan? Well, number one, probably my most favorite thing that I learned, inch power. You've seen the videos of me on the bag and doing a little 1-inch punch, all that stuff. Yes, I have learned to not rely on big muscles to win fights. I've also learned to fight in the clinch. I started out a long distance fighter, and I was all about doing spectacular big kicks. You've seen some videos like that, but I am not getting any younger. So I also mainly got the perk of fighting for long periods of time, longevity, right? Because that's essentially what Tai Chi Chuan is about, longevity, preserving yourself. And I also learned straight sword, little crouching tiger action, right? So those are just some notable perks. I also learned the power of softness. Sometimes, not everything has to be hardcore, bone-crushing moves. Sometimes can just be as simple as redirecting and throwing your opponent off balance and making them run into something that they shouldn't have run into, like an elbow, a fist, or a shoulder, or a wall, or another opponent, right? So there's that. So with all that in mind, 10 years behind me, right? Many tournaments later. In fact, where do I go from here, right? Well, that's the real question. Well, I keep learning as much as I can. I continue competing. There's that. It's not going to happen this year with all the COVID action. Or COVID, I'll never say that thing right. Whatever. And eventually, I do want to pass on this art. I want to keep it alive. I feel like this is one of the greatest creations to ever come out of China, the Taoist arts, right? So, with that said, I say this to everyone who's interested. If you're going to do this, persistence is key, patience is key. You're climbing up a mountain of jagged rocks and broken glass. There will be hardships. There will be times you don't want to do it, but if you stick with it, you can do great things. You can learn great things. You can be great yourself, and you can pass on greatness to others. So, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this combat commentary, and I'm glad that I could share this art with all of you out there that care to watch. And with that said, be strong, get out there, train hard, be water, my friends. And if you like what you saw, like, share, and subscribe. Ring that bell icon. Turtle Sage signing out.